If you are sad, if you are feeling stress in your life right now, if you are upset, my question is, why did you choose to be upset? We can't change the variables, what happens in life, but we can choose how we're going to respond. We actually have the ability to control the natural stress response that occurs in our brain and through our bodies. And we may not be able to stop it completely in some cases, but we can reduce a large amount of its impacts, or maybe reduce it altogether. And I'll show you how in this video. As you're watching this right now, if you're sitting down, you focus only on your legs and whatever they're touching. Just put complete focus, all of your energies and focus on the weight of your legs against whatever they are touching and the pressure of that. And just only focus on that and push all mind out. Now what you just did right there is mindfulness. Mindfulness is not so much a relaxation technique, but it's a way to control your entire mind to focus on one variable. And studies have shown that when you do this 15 minutes a week, there has been an increase in gray matter and prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain that was required for making sense. When people talk about mindfulness and teach you that this is good for you, it'll help reduce stress. When I really understand what's happening in the brain during mindfulness, it actually gave me more motivation to do it. But then I realized one thing, is that after understanding what is happening in the brain during mindfulness, it really gave me more motivation to do it and believe in its impacts. And then I was thinking today that why not apply mindfulness in a way that you are thinking about what is happening in the brain. And so let me quickly talk about what happens during a stress response within the brain, and then how we can apply mindfulness to it. This is what happens in the brain during a stress response. So either through the eyes, ears, nose, sometimes touch, the stimuli will enter the mind, and then it'll go into the thalamus, and a decision will be made that we need to activate the fight or flight response. Information is sent to the prefrontal cortex, where it can begin to make sense of things, but also information is sent down to the amygdala. So the amygdala can then begin to react and turn on the sympathetic nervous system and prepare for the fight for flight response. In this image, we have the autonomic nervous system. It consists on the right of the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So when the fight for flight response occurs within the brain, the amygdala is ready for the fight and sends signals through the sympathetic nervous system, which is a release of neurotransmitters and various different types of hormones pushing down through the body, which causes your breathing to increase, your heart rate to increase, your stomach stops digesting food. There's all kinds of these catecholamines is what they call them, go into different parts of the organ. The parasympathetic nervous system, what it's going to do is once the fight for flight response is done, it will help bring the body back down to normal. But sometimes what happens is the two systems kind of are causing damage to the body together, because as the sympathetic nervous system increases the heart rate and breathing becomes irregular, the parasympathetic nervous system realizes, hey, we got to regulate this oxygen now, and will kind of trick the heart to think it doesn't need as much oxygen. And so overall, this is causing different issues. But as the stress level goes down, the parasympathetic nervous system will bring the body back to its normal state. So now you can see what is happening in the mind when you experience stress. Now I'm talking about anything from someone's running straight after you and about to shoot you in the face, to somebody makes you mad and cuts you off on the freeway, or you are a Trump supporter, something against Trump. Anything that causes any level of stress, you can take charge and control how you are going to feel. And you can learn to train the amygdala to not respond to the constant stimuli that are making you stressed. And so you can practice that with mindfulness. And you can watch this video and think about what I just went through. And next time you have any level of stress, or you're getting ready for a meeting, or you have anything where you're kind of getting nervous, do mindfulness, breathe, relax, and think about what is happening in your head. And so we can try that right now. This is how you're going to practice. Remember all the parts of the brain that I talked about. You are feeling the stress. You're going to begin to conduct mindfulness and focus your mind completely on this blue shape, thinking about the thalamus and realizing the thalamus is sending information to the prefrontal cortex to tell you, how should I deal with this situation? But also it sends information to the amygdala, and the amygdala wants to fight. It wants to cause stress. It wants to make you upset. But you are in control, and you want to prevent the amygdala from causing problems. And so what you do is you now choose to take charge. You choose to relax and focus on the brain. And then as you're conducting mindfulness, you can visually see that the amygdala is stopping its actions. It's no longer being a bully. The prefrontal cortex is stronger. It has won the battle, and you will feel inside that the stress is lowering. The hormones then stop flowing, and you have just taken charge, and you've told the amygdala, calm down there, buddy. There's no need for me to get all upset when I see a Trump post or a pro-Trump, depending on what you are, or someone just cut me off, or I'm nervous because I'm about to go in and talk to the boss or whatever. You are taking charge. You are in control of when you're going to have a stress response. It's triggered, and you will turn that machine down and eventually slowly train your brain. And this works with anything with PTSD. You need to start making a journal, and you can write down what are the elements that are causing the threat response, the stressor to occur. It could be a minor, small thing, like I know that a certain pitch of voice for a female gets me going because it reminds me of incoming. And I used to have an issue with that, but that thought would enter my mind. And before applying mindfulness, I would go into cognitive behavioral therapy and kind of think, let's think about that thought, that initial thought. Let's make sense of it. Am I really getting attacked by rockets right now? No, I'm safe. It's just a lady's voice. I don't need to react. And then through that, I'm able to turn the amygdala down and be like, hey, bro, we're not doing that. And so what I've noticed too is after doing that voice doesn't really bug me anymore, because I've taught the amygdala. I'm like, amygdala, you ain't in charge. You get that response out of here. We're not responding to that voice anymore. It doesn't bug me. And this is what mindfulness does. And it's really helped me when I understood what was happening in the brain. And then I realized if you do mindfulness when you have the stress response, you have the power, and you're focusing just on the inside of the brain. I'm thinking about the amygdala. Okay, amygdala, don't send that response. I want to send more to my prefrontal cortex. My prefrontal cortex is in charge, and it's going to make the decision. I'm going to calm the stress down. Because really, when the amygdala kicks on hard, it starts clouding the judgment of the prefrontal cortex. It's like throwing mud in the eyes of the prefrontal cortex, saying, shut up, dude, I'm in charge. And you don't want to do that. You can do it, and you can turn your stress response down.